Years ago, a woman named Sun Mikong came to the orphanage and noticed a sad little girl who had been adopted but was returned. Seeing the sadness in the child's eyes, she felt compassion and decided to adopt her. Now in the present, while Unai seems cheerful on the outside, her school life is a living nightmare. She faces severe bullying from a group of classmates led by Kong, so young, making her days at school unbearably cruel. One day, at school, so young, and her friends corner her, throwing eggs, flour, and fish over her, sarcastically calling it a birthday cake they're preparing for So Young. So Young is delighted by this twisted gesture and thanks her friends, calling them the best. Lubai feels deeply humiliated, but she remains silent, unable to stand up for herself. She cleans herself, put on her gym clothes, and gets to the classroom, but the stench of fish sauce is overpowering. The entire class mocks her, and even the teacher scolds her, assuming she wears her gym clothes too often, and asks her to come to the office. After class at the office, the teacher questions why she keeps wearing gym clothes and if something is wrong, but Unai, unable to share her pain, insists that everything is fine. As she leaves the office, the hallway is filled with girls laughing at her, ridiculing her as she walks by. Adding to the overwhelming isolation she feels, Unai ensures all the children at the orphanage eat well, carefully dividing their meals and encouraging them to eat their vegetables for a stronger body and immune system. Recently, Unai falls ill. Jean, another girl at the orphanage who's very close to her, tends to her with warm compresses and insists she rests, though Unai tries to send her away. Irene stays by her side all night. Thankfully, Bei's condition starts to improve, while Bei often receives gifts from a woman named Young. Every time a package arrives, it brings a rare moment of happiness to her difficult life, lifting her spirits, even if just for a little while. Meanwhile, in Seoul, Unai has a twin sister. Though they were separated at a young age because of Yuen's adoption, and seems completely unaware of each other's existence. Un looks exactly like Unai, but leads a completely different life. She attends a prestigious school where she is bold, confident, and quite popular. One day, Unbi's class goes on a trip to Tongan. Mikong cares deeply for her daughter Unbi and lovingly packs her bag for the trip. While doing so, she notices a new shirt in her bag. Curious, she questions her about it, but Unbi dismisses her concern, casually saying that a friend gifted it to her. Everyone joins except Hanian, an exceptional swimmer who has a national competition on the same day. LB and Ian are close friends, and on the bus, she listens to the commentary of his race. When Ian wins, he is overjoyed, and so is Unbi, feeling proud of him. Her happiness is so noticeable that her best friend Cha Sonju asks why she's smiling, but unbrushes it off, saying it's nothing. Meanwhile, when UNCL class trip reaches Tongan, she steps out of the hotel and suddenly receives a message from a contact named Jong Soon. The message reads, "Is just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it never happened." Shocked by this, she stares at the mobile and in fear drops it as SJU approaches her from behind, asking if something's wrong. Un brushes her off, trying to hide her growing anxiety. Meanwhile, Un returns home after completing her 3 part-time jobs. She's shocked to find So Young and her gang already at the they're there to fulfill some charity hours. Seeing them, Lubai feels both sad and scared. So Young and her friends make her do all the work, taunting her by saying the orphanage runs on their FA's taxes. So Young's father is a prosecutor, and she even speaks to the orphanage head, promising to talk to her dad about increasing their donations. The head of the orphanage is delighted, repeatedly thanking Son for her kindness. Later that night, Lunai sends Son a message asking to meet outside. When they meet, Sonong asks how Nai dared to call her out so late. Nai immediately apologizes and brings up the donation talk from earlier, wondering if what Son said was true. With a sarcastic smile, Son mocks her, saying she was completely serious, and even offers to call her dad to prove it. By, though doubtful, hesitates. So Young asks for her phone as she left hers at home, so Unai reluctantly agrees to believe her and gives her the phone. However, So Young starts sending threatening messages to all of their classmates, laughing as she taunts Unai, asking if she really thought she'd call her dad for her sake. Enraged, Unai tries to grab her phone back, leading to a physical struggle between the two. Seeing a security camera nearby, So Young takes things further. She forces Unai to hit her, even placing a stick in Uni's hand to make it appear like she's being attacked. But suddenly, Unai notices pipes above So Young about to fall. Without thinking, she throws herself on top of So Young, saving her from the falling FES. Meanwhile, everyone is gathered at the hotel. Un receives another message without a word. She quickly gets up and leaves the room. Her friend Shireen notices and asks where she's going, but Un ignores her and rushes outside. Jean follows her and sees a boy seemingly discussing something with Un. Since the boy's back is turned, Jean can't see his face, but she feels deeply upset for Un. Suddenly, Un goes away. The boy starts following her the next day. While sitting on a chairlift with the others, Shen notices a bruise on Yuan's neck, which alarms her. However, she says nothing as SJU has been giving her a lot of attention lately, and she enjoys the attention too much to interrupt the moment. That same day, Unbi makes a call to the House of Love orphanage pretending to be a friend of Unai. She learns that Unai is not at the orphanage and is working part-time. Coincidentally, Un is sitting in the very coffee shop where Unai is working, but the two don't see each other. Disappointed, she heads back to the hotel later. While using the washroom, the lights suddenly go out, and she senses someone outside. Fear takes over, and she screams. But soon after she disappears, the entire group along with their class teacher, Mr. Kim, frantically searches for her. But she's nowhere to be found. Sunju calls Mikong Yuan's mom, informing her about Yuan's disappearance. Mikong rushes to Tangang in her car, and they review every security camera, but Un is nowhere to be found. She is in tears, demands answers from Mr. Kim about her missing daughter, but he stands there in silence, unable to respond. Meanwhile, So Young's mother storms into the principal's office, demanding that Unai be expelled from the school. She believes that Unai is responsible for the pipes almost falling on So Young, claiming her daughter's life is in danger because of her. The teachers present ask Unai to apologize, but she is shocked that even they don't stand by her, refusing to apologize for something she didn't do. Stands firm, determined not to admit guilt when she knows she's innocent. In response, the teachers expel her. Heartbroken, Un leaves, while So Young, hearing the news, is filled with joy. That day is Yuan's last in school. So Young and her gang surround Unai in class, mocking her yet again. Despite her growing anger, Unai surprises So Young by saying she pies her. Furious, So Young loses control, and with her group they drag Unai behind the curtains in the classroom. They begin unbuttoning her shirt and start recording a video as Unai cries and begs them to stop. But So Young shows no mercy. The rest of the class silently watches the cruelty unfold, choosing to ignore Unai, suffering deeply hurt and broken. Unai weeps uncontrollably. In her despair, she rips off her name badge and throws it to the ground outside the school. Overwhelmed by pain and despair, Unai heads to the sea with no hope left. She takes a final breath and jumps into the water. After 10 days, Mikong receives a call from the hospital informing her that her daughter is there. However, it's actually Unbai. She is suffering from amnesia and does not remember anything. Relieved to see her alive, Nikan, believing her to be Un, tells her she's her mother and her name is Yuan. As they leave the hospital, So Young appears and starts pulling Yuan's hair. Confused, she starts screaming. Mikim arrives, quickly pulling So Young off and warning her to stay away. Shocked, So Young apologizes when Mikong reveals she is her mother. Meanwhile, Ian is filled with worry over Yuan's disappearance. Memories flood back from the night of his national swimming victory. When he had gone to find her in Tonggyang, he had intended to give her his award, but her cold mode made him hesitate. As he reflects, he remembers noticing a strange bruise on her neck, which sparked his concern, yet Unbi had refused to explain, insisting he leave now. Regret washes over him as he realizes he should have stayed and offered her the help she clearly needed. That night, his heart aches with the thought that perhaps things could have been different if he had acted. Ian at home, Mikey Young shows her old pictures and tells her about being adopted. Luan Bai feels a bit uneasy, but Em assures her that she knew this already. Unai then asks to sleep with her, surprising Mikong, as Un had never done this before. It touches her heart. The next day at school, she meets Gong TK Kwang, a rebellious student. She greets him, and he jokingly remarks that she must have truly lost her memory, since she never acknowledged him before. She also remembers seeing him sneaking down from the hospital rooftop when she enters the class. Everyone greets her, and she greets them back, surprising her classmates, as Unbi was always distant and a rude brat. Later, the class goes morning. Labai wakes up at 5 a.m. for a walk, which surprises Ian, who notices her at the walk. He mentions that she never wakes up this early and always arrives at school just in time. Lunai, puzzled, says her eyes just open automatically. At that hour, they walk together in the park at school. Lunai struggles to unlock her locker and gives up. Suddenly, a teacher enters along with Yanan and accuses her of stealing Yan mother's jewelry set, claiming it's inside her locker. Shocked, Unai insists her locker won't open. Gong Ta Kwang steps in, smashes the locker open with a chair, and the jewelry set is indeed found inside. Leaving Unai in disbelief, Unai stands frozen in shock as she discovers the jewelry set in her locker. Just as she processes this unexpected gift, Mr. Kim arrives, eager to ask her about it before she can explain. Mr. investigates further and soon uncovers the truth. Ian planted the jewelry. When confronted, Ian opens up about her motivations, admitting that she often finds herself paying for outings with the other girls who only invite her for her money. Her financial struggles led her to take this desperate step, revealing a side of her story that others had overlooked. Yun's mother is furious upon learning the truth and heads to the principal's office to expose the discrimination happening in the school. Luan Bai's friends reassure her, saying she was never like that. The next morning during a walk with Ian, he mentions the neck injury she got during the trip, but she can't remember anything about it at school. The teachers question the students to bring the truth to light. The classmates reveal that no one ever forced Yun to treat them. She always paid willingly, and they assumed she came from a wealthy family. Later in the canteen, some students mock Unai. Sun just steps in and pours water on their plate, reminding Unai of her past life, where So Young did the same with her. When Sanju asks what's wrong, she brushes it off. That evening, as Unbai and her mom relax, Nikon reflects on how different she is now, saying she prefers this version of her. She tells her that she will never leave her side and will always keep her close. The next day at school, Sunju gets furious when she spots a white flower on Yuan's table. She confronts the class, and the class monitor and June tells her that Yuman was the first to arrive. SJU and the other students corner young Nun in the library, questioning her. Young admits that she explains why she feels hurt. Luan Bai then goes to the swimming pool with Ian, who's happy that the truth has come out. While playing by the water, she accidentally falls in. Ian initially doesn't panic, assuming she knows how to swim, but when she starts drowning, he quickly jumps in to save her. As she falls into the water, memories flood back. She recalls So Young's torment that led her to jump into the sea, and her twin sister Un-bi, who saved her life. Now we learn that V had known about her identical twin for a long time and had gone to Tongyang to find her. When she visited the orphanage, she discovered the miserable life of Unai and decided to help her. By now having regained her memory, is shocked and overwhelmed with the thought of where her sister might be. She feels deeply unsettled at home, and when she meets Mikey Young, she hugs her tightly, breaking down in tears. Mikey Young is confused and worried, unable to understand why Unai is acting this way. She decides to live her sister's life until found on the next day at school. The atmosphere is tense as teachers accuse Unai of being a thief. Just when things seem awful, Young arrives, with Mr. Kim stepping up to confess that it wasn't Yuan's fault. However, Unai takes it. She looks through WB's things and notices that her sister had been secretly sending her gifts all along under the name of Mikong. She finds a matching shirt in the wardrobe, and the realization Bai visits the hospital, her heart racing with questions. She asks the receptionist if any other drowning victims were admitted around the time she was saved. The receptionist informs her that no patients were registered, but a body was found in the sea a few days later. Stunned and shaken, Unai makes her way to the memorial, feeling an unsettling weight in her chest. At the memorial, Unai stands quietly, lost in thought, struggling with the revelation. Suddenly, Makim arrives, tears streaming down her face. She pleads with her, begging her to stop this cruel joke, and insists that she is her daughter Yunail, despite S attempts to explain the situation. Mikong remains in denial, unable to accept the truth that has shattered her world. The emotional confrontation leaves both women heartbroken, caught in a web of grief. She is now her daughter, and she can't live without her. Moved by her words, Unai agrees, and they return to Seoul together. The next morning, when Unai tries to address Mikon formally by calling her ma'am, Mikon scolds her, telling her nothing will change, and she must continue calling her mom. She then reminds her to get ready for school before heading out. Unai lovingly serves Mikong some homemade soup, which M. King enjoys, feeling touched by the gesture. Meanwhile, Ian is in the pool pushing himself to practice swimming. He feels a sharp pain in his injured shoulder, but chooses to keep it to himself, determined to improve later at home. He notices his father busy loading items into the car. Ian offers to help, but his father stops him, insisting that he should focus on his swimming and take care of his shoulders, since it's essential for his future in the sport. The next day, Unai embarks on her new life as but she feels a sense of disconnect, struggling to fully embrace her new identity. Looking in the mirror, she contemplates calling herself Unbile with pride. On the bus, Ian catches sight of her and decides to chase after it. He hops on, choosing a seat right behind her. As he starts texting her, she's taken aback when he reveals that he's right behind her, sparking a mix of surprise and excitement. At school, Bai's friend Shinji notices a change in her writing, which makes her anxious. She quickly leaves the classroom, making the excuse of headache. She heads Taekwon seems confused, and she leaves smiling. That night, Ian makes a heartfelt decision to give Unai his national medal, sending her a message to meet up. However, Unai has left her phone at home. Unaware of his plans, while she's out, she unexpectedly bumps into Taekwon. He awkwardly apologizes for his earlier actions, and though hesitant, she accepts his apology. To break the tension, Taekwon offers to teach her how to use a hoverboard. As they laugh together, Ian watches from a distance, jealousy stirring inside him, though he tries his best to hide it. The next